So I'm starting this with the understanding that I'm probably not going to be as far in depth into it as I have been in the past. I recently posted a video on YouTube when the whole coronavirus issue started, and it got taken down. There was no rhyme or reason. It got taken down, and I appealed it and they denied it. So the only thing I can figure is I've noticed that since writing an herb book that a lot more of my herbal information is being censored. I don't know why or how or who, but it is. It could totally be that it's being hosted on a private platform and that platform doesn't agree with what I have to say, which is fine. That's their right. But anyhow, not to linger on that too much, but I'm getting swamped with questions, with people that are upset or scared or confused about this new coronavirus announcement that the United States just made about, basically saying be prepared for a widespread pandemic. Now, WHO, which is the World Health Organization, has not yet claimed this to be a pandemic. So we like to watch WHO and what they say about the whole thing. Right now it's still probably close to pandemic, but we haven't claimed it as that yet. So today I want to go over just a few facts, and then I want to go over a few things that you should be doing now to prepare. This isn't a fear-mongering issue or thing. That's not what this video or this podcast is about. For those of you on YouTube, I'm actually recording this for my podcast as well. So obviously today's topic is the coronavirus. We're going to talk about, normal, everyday, average ways to prevent it. Some herbs that can help you. I'm not making any claims that it's going to cure coronavirus. I'm not making any claims that you're not going to get it, because you totally could. But I am going to say, hey, these herbs are immune boosting herbs that could help you. I'm not going to mention any other type of herbal remedy that may be in the oil family, because that's another story for another day. All right, so for starters, at the making of this video, so I'm making this video and podcast the Friday before it's published. So keep in mind that this information is probably it's either a few days to a week older than what your current information is now. So if you want the absolute up-to-date current information, you're going to need to go check that out for yourself. But at the making of this particular segment, we have 82,000 people that have been infected, 2,800 people that have died, and 33,000 people that have recovered with no issue. So the death rate is still hovering between 2 and 3%, which is kind of normal, especially for a virus like this. What's not normal is how quickly it's spreading and how easily transmittable it is. This virus is lingering on surfaces longer than things like the flu and the common cold. I read a document, I don't know how true this is, take it with a grain of salt or sand or whatever, that said, with the flu, if a person is in a room and they cough, if you're within or outside of 6 feet radius of them, you're fine. If you're inside that 6 foot radius, you're not. But with coronavirus, if somebody coughs in a room, everyone can be contaminated. That's how quickly it's spreading and transmitting. Now, a virus cannot replicate on a surface. A virus can only replicate on inside of a host. So that is a myth that you might start hearing. It's not from scientists or anything, but a lot of fear mongering. Oh, it's multiplying on surfaces and in the air. It can't do that. Viruses can't do that. They have to actually have a host to multiply in. But the issue is that it can stay on the surface much, much, much longer than something like the common cold or the flu. So that's issue number one. Issue number two is it sounds like people can be infected for up to 48 days without ever showing symptoms, but still being contagious. So that's a really big deal. Normally the incubation period for a virus like this would be, up to 72 hours. This is 48 days we're talking about. So that one person, with no fault of their own, could have been infected, walking around for 48 days infecting other people. So that's a very real issue that we should really consider, because it means that nobody's off limits, unfortunately, at all. And that means we start seeing, so I just read a article this morning that said the United States might have their first confirmed community transmitted coronavirus. Now, obviously that'll probably be updated by the time I post this. If I can figure it out and find out, I'll post it in the show notes to let you know what the update is on that. But that means that they think they have their first coronavirus infection with a person where they don't know where it came from. They didn't have any contact with a traveler. They didn't have any contact with somebody with coronavirus, in their immediate general area. And so that's something that we're currently trying to figure out. So nobody's off limits at all. Anybody can get coronavirus. Anybody. Now, looking at the death rate and looking at the facts, it looks like any other virus, that the people who are passing away from this virus are either elderly or they have a pre-existing condition that's causing the virus to be worse than it normally would be. So it still rings true, according to what I've researched, that most of the people who get this coronavirus, it's just mild, like the flu, the common flu. A lot of people are getting it and they're just staying home and nursing it at home for 7 days, and then it's gone, which is really what you should do, honest to goodness. Unless you feel like you're really, really, really sick, you should just stay home and not infect other people. If you really feel sick, then yes, you should go to the doctor. But, I grew up in a time where you didn't go to the doctor for anything and everything. If you were sick, you stayed home, you took care of it until if you got to a point where you were really sick and you needed medicine or help, then you go to the doctor. So I in my personal opinion, I think we should bring that back. But, I try to avoid the doctor because I'm not telling you to avoid the doctor. I just say I try to avoid it unless it's a dire situation, because when you take your kids or yourself into the hospital or the doctor, you are then susceptible to getting more than what you already have, or you're making other people susceptible to what you have. So it seems like that's still a truth, that people who are getting it, it's so mild, like the flu, that a lot of them aren't even going to the hospital. So it could be that there are more people infected than we know. But the people that are going to the doctor or the hospital, that are getting swabbed to find out, to confirm this coronavirus, they're saying, oh, it's a cough, it's a cold, it's congestion, it's a fever or whatever, and they're over it in 7 days. Unfortunately, the elderly, as with the flu and any virus, the elderly and people with pre-existing conditions that can cause the coronavirus to be more severe are the people that are dying. So if you have elderly people in your family, your grandparents, your parents, and you feel like you're getting sick, then you should stay home. Even if it's just the common cold, you should stay home. But the issue that we go back to is that, well, we could have it for 48 days and be around them and infect them without even knowing. So, people that are elderly, people that have cancer are on chemo, people that have heart issues or lung issues, people that just have an overall immune compromised body, or who are unhealthy. And we have a lot of unhealthy people in the United States, unfortunately. So those are the people that would need to worry about the risk more than the common average everyday person that is generally healthy. That doesn't mean the common average everyday person that's generally healthy couldn't have adverse side effects from this. But generally, that person, and these are just facts. This isn't speculation. These are just facts. These people are recuperating just fine, and they're going about their business after about 7 to 10 days. The concern and the fear happens in media because it's such a fast moving virus that we don't really understand yet. There's a lot of speculation about this virus. I have my own speculations about this virus that I will not share. I'm not going to, and you can ask me and I'm not going to. I'm sorry. I'm just not. I have my own family to look after to keep me safe or to keep them safe. And it's just the way it is. So, the next thing is, how can you help prevent it? So the reality is that no country wants this virus. Because, especially the United States, because what happens is when we start quarantining communities, when we start quarantining people to their homes, when we start going through these things, stock markets drop, business drops. We've seen that already. Our stock market has already dropped a lot more than we would hope for to see. That's the epidemiology of all of this, is that viruses like this, pandemics like this, affect our global market. And we're seeing that happen already. So most countries want you to prevent this from happening. So common sense, hand washing. Wash your hands, tops and bottoms, sterilize them. Someone had asked me recently about wearing a mask. Wearing a mask is totally possible, but honestly, I don't believe it's going to help you very much, because what happens is you're still using your hands to touch stuff and grab stuff when you're out. And then you take your mask off and you touch your face and the rest of your body. Normally viruses start in the nose. They go up through the nose and into the throat. So if you're, going like this or scratching your eye, unless you are consciously remembering to sanitize your hands every single time before you take that mask off, it's not going to make a difference. So I would say that hand sanitation comes long before wearing a mask. But if you want to wear a mask, then you can. It's certainly, a good thing to do. But it's probably not going to, unless you're putting all of these things together, it's probably not going to help very much. Now, if you are sick, you should wear a mask, because you could then spread that sickness to other people. Even if you don't think you have coronavirus, you should wear a mask if you're sick. So sterilize your hands. You can wear a mask if you want to, but it's not really necessary. It's really optional. For people that work outside of the home, it's really important that when you come home, you drop your clothes in a laundry room or somewhere like that, and then stick them in the washing machine to wash that night. Wash your hands, wash your face off. Especially if you've got littles at home, it's really important to do that. It's just an extra layer of protection. And then you can actually take immune boosting herbs. You can take elderberry and astragalus. So elderberry has been linked in several studies to help with viruses like the coronavirus family. Not specifically this strand of virus in the coronavirus family, but it has been known to help, elderberry and astragalus both to help with the coronavirus family. So my theory as an herbalist is that it would definitely help boost your immune system and help with the coronavirus. And let me tell you, we got the flu, not a confirmed flu, because I didn't take my family to the doctor. We were all fine. The baby actually got it. He was good in 2 days. The rest of us got it. We were about 100% after about 7 days. So looking at how we got it, when we got it, all the symptoms, it led to the flu for sure. But I will tell you that we took the elderberry and astragalus syrup. The reason we got it is because we weren't taking it very frequently. You get comfortable in not getting sick for so many years, and then you stop taking it as often, and this is what happens. But we started taking it every 2 hours once we got sick, and our symptoms, other than the fever, went away very, very quickly. The fever itself lingered for a while. That's just your body fighting everything off. But our symptoms went away with the elderberry and astragalus. So even if the elderberry and astragalus, even if you still get something like coronavirus, even on elderberry and astragalus, taking it every 2 hours really helps with the symptoms and helps boost your immune system. So I have a recipe on my website that you can find, and I'll link that in the description below. There are other immune boosting herbs you can take, but I gotta tell you, astragalus is the powerhouse. You can also take echinacea, but looking at this from an herbalist standpoint, the two most common things are the elderberry and astragalus that you're going to take. You can also take garlic supplements, or just eat a clove of garlic every day. That will help with any bacterial infections that you could get as a secondary issue with coronavirus. A lot of people, when they get coronavirus or the flu, they can also get pneumonia. So garlic in your body really helps. And those would be the top 3 things that I would tell you to do. You can diffuse certain things into the air, but there's really no studies that show diffusing things actually cleanses the air. But that's another story for another day. So you've got your hand sanitation, dropping your clothes at the door, sanitize your keys and your phone every night when you get home. That's really important. Take immune boosting herbs. And then I would say, the next step after all of that, you need to not stress about it, because stressing out can actually cause your immune system to crumble. So if you are just generally stressed out about other things, and then you add this on top of it, and you have a generally stressful life, that's not good. So find a way to de-stress every day. Find a way to find joy every day. I actually did a podcast about this 2 weeks back, I think, that you should definitely listen to if you are trying to de-stress and find joy in your life right now. Those things are really important to your ultimate health. And if you're not a generally active and healthy person, if you're not eating healthy, that's a big thing. Like, those are big things for you. So those are things that you need to take into consideration and start doing now. It's a little bit late, but it's never too late to start being healthy. So the next thing is the question I'm getting most right now that the United States has said, oh, hey, this could be really, really bad. Like, prepare to be quarantined in certain communities. And I wanted to share that because I'm not trying to spread fear, but if this is a real thing, then we need to be aware of it. I always say to be aware, but don't be consumed. Okay, so be aware of what's happening in the world. Be aware of what's happening in your community, especially in your immediate community. But don't be consumed by it, because that brings stress, that brings fear, which can be worse. It can be more detrimental to your health. So we should prepare. We should actually already be prepared, but most of us are not. You should always have at least 1 month of food supply and medical supply and just general supplies on hand. Do we have that? Probably. But I could add more. I could for sure add more. I mean, we definitely have that with the freeze-dried food storage that we have, but just the general food storage, like canned goods, I could probably do better on that. So, last night we were just trying to check some stuff out, and we went to 3 of our favorite freeze-dried food companies' websites. So it's Wise, Legendary, and is it Mountain something? I can't remember the other one. I'll link it below. And they are all saying they're either sold out or they can't ship with it until 25 to 45 days because of coronavirus and the demand that they've gotten for freeze-dried food. And we just kind of sat there and looked at each other like, what? And so people are catching on, but they're catching on a little bit too late. So people that are like, oh, hey, I should get some freeze-dried food for food storage are finding that they can't get it. Another girl commented on my Facebook page saying that she was able to find some on Amazon, but just be careful with that, because a lot of those people are third-party people. They're individuals selling on Amazon, and you never know what you're getting. So just be careful with that. But you can do food preparation in other ways. So you can go to Costco or your local big bulk store, and you can get things there, like tuna fish and canned chicken. You can get chips and cereal and lots of things that will last you for months, some of them even years. But you can just go buy cases of canned goods, green beans, corn. That's really all you need. Those are things that are non-perishable items that generally the big box stores still have right now. But you're going to have to probably go to a bulk food store, not your local grocery store. I would encourage you to do that as soon as possible because people are catching on. It's kind of like when a hurricane comes, if you're on a coast or whatever, like we are, people flock to the stores and everything is gone. It's like this herd of elephants that come through and just demolish everything, and then everything's gone. So, and I think we're about to see a decline in a lot of our food in general because a lot of our food is imported from China and Korea and other Asian countries. Italy has coronavirus now, and we get lots of stuff from Italy as well. So you're about to see, whether you like it or not, a decrease in a lot of the products that you might buy, especially if you buy processed food, because we're not importing from those places right now, and for good reason. So I would encourage you, even if this coronavirus doesn't touch your community directly, to have at least a month's food supply for your entire family on hand. And a month's food supply doesn't take up a ton of room, depending on what you go with. Just clean out a shelf on your pantry or a place in your basement, and do it. It's not that hard. Take the next few days or the next 2 weeks and just go out and prepare, because the reality is that there are already schools that are on alert, ready to shut down. There are a lot of businesses that are telling their people to telecommute now, which is yay, because I work from home. I love working from home, but a lot of people that generally travel to go to work are now being told to stay home. Even just coming to the office, they're being told to work from home. So quarantine in certain communities is very, very real possibility here in the United States. And that means that you're not going to be allowed to go to the grocery store. You're not going to be allowed to go out and get food at the local Chick-fil-A. You're not going to be allowed to do those things. So getting ready for that is really your responsibility, especially if you have a family. It's when we're not prepared in advance that we start seeing things like looting and mass hysteria, because people don't have food and they need their food. So, and don't forget drinks. We don't buy water because we have a Berkey and we have a well. So we have unlimited amount of water that we can drink. So we don't do that. I would recommend you get a Berkey in a situation like this. I will leave a link for the Berkey below. It's a water filter. It's a big water filter system that you just leave on your counter rather than buying water, because chances are there's probably no water. I haven't been to the grocery store or Costco or anything, but my guess is they're probably getting low already. So we've talked about basic coronavirus. We've talked about how it spreads, how we can help prevent it, how we can help, not spread it, and how we can be prepared. And I want you to know that, go along with your regular everyday life, but be aware of what's happening around you. It's like I have no idea how we got the flu. We really didn't go anywhere. The day that we got it, so I know that the day that we got it because 48 hours later we all had it, or at least me, my husband, and my oldest son, and then 48 hours after we got it, the baby got it. So I know then from that transfer that we got it on a certain day. And that day, the only thing that we did was my husband went to work. He came home early. We went to a thrift shop, and then we went to the grocery store. Now, I did not go into the grocery store, but I was the first one who got sick. Then a few hours later, my son got sick, and then by the end of the day, my husband was sick. So my only guess is that we touched something at the thrift store where we all had it transferred to us, which is possible. Or at the thrift store, somebody did cough near us, like right near us. And that could have been a lingering flu that we all got at the same time. The baby was actually on me, so it didn't probably transmit to him. But that's my guess. We either all touched something at the thrift store or the cough was flu related. And then 48 hours later, the baby got it. So that can be my only guess. So if the flu is that easy to transmit into generally healthy people, we are generally healthy people. I am never naive enough to say that I will never get sick. I can tell you that we haven't gotten sick really in the last 5 years. But I'm not naive enough to say we would never get sick because of this very reason of us just getting sick a week or so ago. So I don't want any of us to ever be naive enough to think, we will never get coronavirus. I see that a lot. I see that happening a lot. I see a lot of people, you have two sides. You have people who are fear-mongering, and then you have people who are totally writing it off and not paying any attention. That are saying, oh, this is so dumb. They're over-exaggerating. Everyone's going to be okay. Well, if everyone were going to be okay, we wouldn't have 80-some thousand people that have been infected. People are comparing it to SARS and MERS, and that's great, but we far exceeded the infected people from both of those other viruses that took place a few years ago. That's what's concerning about it. So, I felt like we needed to have that conversation. I'm getting a lot of questions, a lot of people wanting me to post information. As far as, any more herbs that could help, the issue is that we don't know the virus. We don't understand the virus and why it's so severe. And that's what people are trying to find out. So I can tell you the basics. I can tell you common sense, cough into your elbow, not to your hand. Stay home if you're sick. Don't let your kids play in the Chick-fil-A play place. Don't let your kids go to birthday parties. Honest to goodness, make wiser decisions, because a lot of kids transfer a lot of stuff through snot and saliva and just jumping all over each other. So you might want to just pull back on the play dates and the birthday parties, and just kind of become a homebody for a little while. Doesn't mean you can't go out and have a good time or go to the grocery store or whatever, but just pull back a little bit. And I think we will all kind of see, we just need to see how this is going to play out before we make any solid decisions or opinions about it. So, all right, that is what I have on the coronavirus for this week. I wanted to post this because I still get so many questions and I cannot get to them all. So I'm putting this video up. I am putting this podcast up. I figure if I get it on both platforms, then they can't both be taken down, right? I don't know. We'll figure it out. But all right, guys, I hope that you enjoyed this episode of the Choosing Simple podcast and this video on YouTube. If you haven't yet checked out either one of those and subscribed, I encourage you to. If you wouldn't mind leaving a thumbs up and a comment if you want to on YouTube, and leaving me a review on the podcast. Maybe not even about this particular video, but just about or this particular podcast, but about other podcasts that you might have listened to. I encourage you to check it out. You can find the podcast on pretty much most of the podcasting outlets. So I'm working on a few more for you, but otherwise they're on most of them. So, all right, guys, I hope that you have a great day, and don't forget to stop stressing out and to remember to choose simple in your everyday life. And that includes with coronavirus. Just be simple about it and don't stress out, but be wise about every decision that you're making. All right, guys, have a great day.